Hey everyone, how you doing? Okay, we're gonna start on time. So as a reminder, we're gonna go over homework today. I've pulled four pieces of homework to go over, and I want you to take notes as you listen. One of the things I noticed when I was going over the homework were a lot of questions around the business of speaking. And so we're not getting into a ton of that while we're here, but I do want to answer your questions as they are relevant to building the speech. So you're going to see some commonality there. I hope everyone on my list shows up today. Then we're going to go over the homework for this week so that you are sure how to fill that out. And I will take questions. I want to do questions after we do both of those things because maybe some of your questions will be answered just by listening to the feedback that other people are getting and by hearing the answers to the questions people ask. So as of right now, let me see. I've got one. Mike, you're up today. Um, let's see. Brian. Is Brian here? Mike, Brian. Tammy, you're up. Mike's up. I don't have all my people, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. I've got four people. So here's who's up today. We have Brian, Tammy, Mike, and then let's see, Dana. Let's see, do we see Dana? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started and hopefully they come. And if they don't come, we have more time for questions and more work together, and so be it. But I do want to highlight for you the importance of coming on time, the importance of telling me if you can't be here in person. What that means is I am not reviewing somebody else's homework because I didn't know you weren't coming. So I would really appreciate it if you just send to questions@heroicpublicspeaking.com and say, hey, I'm not going to be there. We need to know the day before so that when I am sitting down to do homework, I know who will be here and who won't be here. Okay. All right. So, Mike, you're up.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody.
Good morning, good afternoon. I want to also point out one more little note. I did say it before, but I want to remind you, if you do not want me to choose you for homework, totally cool. You can just put a note to me at the top of your homework. AJ, don't pick me. And that's enough. I don't judge. Whatever your reasons are fine by me. Okay. Oh, I see Dana here. Okay, so we got 3 out of 4. Um, so we're gonna go forward with that. Okay, Mike, here we go. Okay, we're going to start with deliver change. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to stay off mute. Everybody else stay muted. If something resonates with you that Mike says, if you feel inspired by him, if you're just think something he said is cool, please put it in the chat. We want to start getting into the practice of providing each other with positive feedback, okay? Remember that we're going to reserve questions until after we finish both of the homework sections today. All right, so we want to save your questions for that. Remember that I'm providing critical feedback. Mike, you and I are going to have a dialogue. So that's why I want you coming off mute. The best way to do this is together, okay? Everybody else take notes if you learn something that might apply to your own work here in class. Okay, here we go. All right, so I'm not going to go over every single piece. I usually will cherry pick the things that I think we need to talk about, Mike. Before I do that, just how was your first week?
Very enlightening. I love the fact that it opened my mind. For me, it makes it easier when our homework isn't due till 11:59 p.m. on Saturday, because
Uh-huh.
Saturday is a good thinking time for me. I collect my thoughts throughout the week, and then I review my various notes, and then I can come together on that. And because I'm playing in the industry, the thoughts on Tuesday helped me identify later Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it all came together really well. And now I'm seeing things in a much different light how I want to help people.
Than you were last week?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Say more.
Um, I guess the angle on how I can position myself in my conversations with people in the industry to open that door.
Okay, awesome.
Because I'm a structure guy. I,
I
I,
can see that.
when I have something to pursue and I know what to pursue and more importantly how to do it, I will do it. It will get every ounce of my being.
I love that. We're going to love this because everything in this program gives, it's all frameworks and structures to help you build. So I love hearing that. I can tell you're a structure guy from your homework. Okay, so I wanted to highlight this where you say the change you want to see in the world is the entire independent insurance agency united for the benefit of the consumer. And I just wanted to just out of curiosity, why does that matter so much?
I don't know if I mentioned it in the homework or not, but starting from nothing, having nothing, and making a commitment to the industry at age 24 after coming through a lot of things, it was so good to me. It was so good to my family. It created such incredible abundance for all of us. And now that's transitioning to our 13 grandchildren and
Mm-hmm.
me running cousins camp, teaching them entrepreneurial strategies and thoughts and how to's and everything else for their own lives, regardless of what they want to do. But
Mm-hmm.
now it's positioned me to be able to give back to the industry. And since 2013, formally working with agents and the stories of impact in the lives of agencies that we've worked with. I mean, it just causes me to jump out of bed every single day.
I love that. My grandfather, my grandpa Bob, he was an insurance guy and did this at the time seemed bonkers thing where he went just straight commission when he had his young family. And but it really, really helped their family as well. And my grandmother lived on those commissions for decades after he passed and so on and so forth. And I don't know. I'm felt a kinship here. Just it can really affect whole generations.
100%. Do
Yeah.
you mind? And you may not remember, was it the life insurance side or the what we call property and casualty auto home business?
I'm gonna say it was life, but I can't say for sure because I was just a little girl when he passed. So
Yeah. I'm
um
sorry. Yeah.
that's okay. He was a delightful light of a human being. And but I just remember the stories about how he took care of the family and when he took that big leap and
Yeah.
how my grandmother's future was 100% secure. So,
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Is why I want.
Can I add one more thing real quick?
Yes.
I don't think I got to this in the homework. I'm married to my bride. It's going to be 32 years this Thursday. So, but I did address it in the homework.
Yeah, you were
We were
blended family.
blended family, but her first husband, who died on the way home from work in a car accident, had ample life insurance, which allowed her to take care of her kids, which is awesome. So, yes, you're
Yeah.
right. Back to you.
Okay. Okay, great. So, Mike, first of all, thanks for sharing all the personal things. It was helped me get to know you better. And sometimes it's easier to write about in this week's homework than it is later when you're trying to build a speech because you don't know where it goes. So, one thing I want to point out to you and to everyone here, think about all the homework that you're doing as tools you may use later so that as you're continuing to move forward, you might say, "Oh, let me go back and see what I put there." Because my experience is you are starting to build the speech now. I've seen listen, this homework has teaching points, potential stories, all of it. I've found potential core messages in people's homework. I've seen a lot. And when we allow ourselves to brainstorm and just answer questions without the requirement of being perfect or getting a sound bite or even if you're going to use it in the speech, sometimes you end up with the best stuff. So please, everyone, save everything and then refer back to it because you will find good stuff in there. Okay, so this is why I pulled it, Mike, because of these questions about business. So you're not so no, it says you're not 100% sure of what platform will be most effective for your business. So you're doing keynotes now, but you're doing them within the industry where you're not going to be getting the big keynote fees.
Aha.
Is that right? No, you said here, like it
No,
says,
no, yes. No, I had a big aha moment, but yes,
oh,
that's
okay. So am I getting that correct?
yes.
Okay, and you want to do more of that, but within the insurance industry, not outside of it.
Well, I mean, my plan is to grow our primary business by doing keynotes, for lack of a better choice, within the industry. Um, Typically speaking, the people that will pay you to speak at an insurance industry event, their budgets are tight. And I've gotten them $5,000 a couple of times, but it's not common.
Okay, so is it more important for you to have the raised speaking fees or to get booked so you can get business?
Book so I can get business.
Yeah, so one of the things is if you have a very clear message, if you have a very tight speech, if the speech is something people are still talking about, if your performance is up leveled, you're naturally going to be getting higher fees because now you're not just doing a presentation, right? Now you're giving them an experience. And so that might very well happen, but I think part of what's happening here is you're wanting to raise fees but also get booked in an industry that doesn't seem to be paying a lot for those fees. So you might need to shift your goal.
Great.
Okay. It says here, right here, this is what kind of threw me. You said that this speech doesn't fit into your plan and you want to find out where it does. Tell me more. What do you mean by that?
Let me reread this very quickly. We have a goal for sure and
Okay.
what we want to do. And Onyx is our operating system. Movement, building the list, creating credibility, and opening the doors for introduction to key people that can help us move forward. Um, what I mean by that is I am not yet sure, and I think it was John last week who said, I want to do all the types of speeches, right? So, and I'm in a way in the same boat. I want to figure out where a talk that I'm going to do that I've rehearsed and it's got the foundational five and everything else. It's become so good. People be so good. I can't be ignored is what's, taped on my monitor right here. Right. And I
Mhm.
want to be that. Right.
Yeah.
So I want to build something like that I can deliver that will fit into our plan.
Okay, okay. I guess I'm just confused as to do you have speaking as part of the plan now, or is this more about the quality of the speech?
Yes. Speaking is part of the plan now.
Okay.
I
So
need to improve the quality of the speech because I'll just say this transparently. My speeches have gotten better over the years,
okay.
but I would rate myself maybe a six on good days
Okay, why? Based on what?
because I'm never satisfied and it's never good enough.
Okay. But I mean, there must be a reason why you would say 6 versus 10. Because that's vague. I don't know what you mean by good enough. Do you mean,
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
is it what kind of feedback do you get?
Not a lot.
Okay. Well,
I
there's,
mean, isn't the ultimate goal of a speaker to be rehired?
yes, the ultimate goal would be to be rehired. And you want to have people coming up to you after the speech.
Well, I do have that.
Okay, what are they saying?
It's a sprinkling.
Okay.
That was awesome. You were a rock star. That was great information. I got, 3 pages of notes.
Oh,
I have all
okay.
actionable items that I can, start today in my business, but I've not been
Awesome.
rehired once.
Interesting. Okay. So it might be so it's a sprinkling and all right, that helps me understand. Okay. So here you're not sure what you want to focus on. But you're thinking keynote. Do you want to talk through, have you changed your mind since you submitted this homework? Do you have more clarity?
No, I haven't changed my mind.
Okay, so you're going to focus on a keynote for this program.
I That's my number one choice.
Okay. Do you
Um,
do you need help with making that decision right now? Because I wasn't sure. You said here, I'm not 100% sure. Here are my top ideas and picks. So I'm here to help you if you want to refine that and make a decision.
it's interesting that we're having this conversation. Of course, there's no accidents. This morning, our team was speaking about a pitch versus a sales presentation. And now that we've got the two words there, sales pitch. In your
Mm-hmm.
mind, what is the definition of sales pitch?
A sales pitch is you speaking in front of a group of potential customers or clients and pitching a product or service in a way that compels them to act.
Okay. So,
So, and also a pitch, people know they're coming to a pitch. So it gives you a little more freedom in the sense that you're going to talk to them about a product or service. Whereas in a keynote, you are absolutely not doing that.
yeah, I would say if I had to choose one today, then it's number one, not number two, because number two is generally discouraged within the industry. If
And
you're,
for good reason, right? How many sales pitches have you had to sit through?
well, they're all salespeople.
Yeah, but
So,
you
yeah,
can listen, we've had people come in here to write sales pitches and they are glorious by the time they're done. Like
yeah,
you would actually want to listen to it, because it's
yeah.
great storytelling. It's has beautiful emotional notes. It's hitting people where it counts. It's memorable and useful and valuable, even though it's a pitch. So we can make an amazing sales pitch, but you just have to decide, is that the outcome that I want? It sounds like based on your goals, we should definitely focus on keynote so that you can get booked. Because if you're doing a workshop means we're going to do this together.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah. But so if we're doing it together, the likelihood of them wanting to necessarily, unless it's super complicated, right? But if they're getting enough done in a workshop, they might not necessarily always feel like they need to hire you after.
Right.
Um, but a keynote, if you position it the right way, those are people that will contact you, especially if you're giving them a transformational experience in that 45 to 60 minutes.
Well, yeah, and I just realized something listening to you that I learned something, I think it was last year in a class that I was in on how to get people to raise their hand in a keynote without it being a pitch, which would be tremendously effective once I get my content and through heroic right up to the right level. So yeah, keynote it is.
Okay, so Mike, is there anything in this homework that you still have questions about or that you want to talk to me about?
No.
Okay, Mike's doing a keynote, everybody. Can you give Mike some love, please, in the chat? Just give Mike a little love. Something that you learned or something that you appreciated about him would be nice. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, Tammy, you ready to rock? Tammy.
Yes, hello. Found the mute button.
Okay, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Thank
Okay,
you.
so we're looking at the change you want to see in the world. And then you have a book, right?
I do.
Okay, what's happening? And it's coming out this year, or it already
It,
came out?
it came out in
Okay.
November of 2025.
Okay, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about it. We're starting to get a couple keynotes booked and two conferences of committed to some bulk purchases.
Okay.
So,
So you already have keynotes you're doing. Are you going to want to refine that, or do you want to create a new keynote?
um, so I want to create a new keynote based on the book.
Mm-hmm.
I a couple of years ago had essentially piloted this keynote topic, got great feedback, and that was actually the inspiration for within a couple of years writing the book.
Mm-hmm.
But now I I need to really solidify. It feels like starting from scratch. Like this, with the launch of the book, this keynote will be a refined, more powerful, compelling message.
Okay. And do you have a what's the core message for the book? So this is where you're talking about the specific problems, but what's the main message?
Um, in the nonprofit sector, there is a division between two approaches to fundraising.
So
And
this right here.
yes,
Okay.
and so my main message is we can that we need to unify around a yes and approach, that these two approaches are not mutually exclusive, and that they ultimately are stronger together.
Okay, awesome. Curious, you mentioned here in the question number 4 on speech deliverables, what problems have you solved in your own life? And you mentioned some of these personal challenges. And then you also had talked earlier about being a white cisgendered person and all of that. So I'm just curious, how much of your personal story do you share?
I don't share loads of my personal story in the book or in this keynote.
Okay.
Um, this keynote does, like, the multiple approaches are intertwined with power dynamics and equity issues. And that's why I'm especially sensitive and talk about the fact that I acknowledge that I'm a white cisgendered woman, talking about bringing together community and the dynamics of race in our profession, the fundraising profession.
Okay. Since you grew up in poverty,
Yep.
uh, we can take parts of our story and they can be relatable to people, even if that's not their experience, but we at least show some vulnerability, or we show, in this case, if you show some marginalization, then it can help you to create a deeper connection versus just, making those statements. So it's just something I thought you might want to consider. Uh,
Okay.
all right. So here's my big question, much like I asked Mike. I get good feedback on my talks, but it's time to rise to a level of excellence that will drive book sales, follow on business, and help the nonprofit sector grow generosity and long-term sustainability. So then, what do you think is the missing piece?
Preparation.
Preparation.
Mhm.
So it's not the content, you think, it's the performance?
I think it's mostly performance. I mean, sure, the content could be refined. I feel like I could incorporate even more stories, but I I don't put in the time to prepare. So
Mm,
I'm literally updating slides on the plane ride. I'm missing the like I'm stressing myself out. Every talk I give in general, the core message is the same, but I don't use the beats and
mm,
the dramatic pauses. I don't block the stage. I don't consistently deliver.
mm-hmm,
And A, it's a huge source of stress for me.
yeah.
And B, it's not the level of excellence and professionalism that's going to really be the conduit
Mm-hmm.
of delivering my message.
Okay, and how have the book sales been going with that? I mean, are you happy with where you are? Or
They started shipping in late November, November 25th. And so I I feel like book sales could be better. I'm getting great feedback on the book from those who do buy it. I had multiple podcast interviews, but there's a next level for the book
yeah,
sales. Yeah, for
okay.
sure.
So as you move forward in this program, I'm going to challenge you.
Okay.
Is there You have a clear compare, contrast. This is how we have been doing it. That's not working. This is how we have to do it. Let's see if there's something, some, well, let me ask you a question. Would most people agree with you? So when you come and you say that, is that a big revelation? Or are people kind of nodding, yes, that's the problem?
There is what the feedback I get, a couple of things. One, people who are operating in donor-centered fundraising feel like they're doing so because they're under pressure to hit a number, they know it works, and they acknowledge the power dynamics and the shadow side of that approach. But
Okay.
they are afraid to say it out loud because their personal values are rooted in equity and inclusion and speaking truth to power. So, but they're not quite like they've been secretly trying to blend both under the radar
Mm,
so that they are trying to find alignment between their practice and their beliefs and values. And I believe that this approach, this human-centered approach, is a way to reconcile both, to celebrate the generosity of donors and the wisdom of communities.
okay. So the reason I'm pushing you is I wonder if there's sometimes when people share a message, I can tell that there's actually something underneath that that you know, and it's probably in your book. And sometimes it doesn't hit people the same way in the speech or
Mm,
hit people in the same way when you want to get them to buy 500 books, right? So let's just put that in our mind, Tammy, as we go through this program, right?
okay.
Um, is there more under there? And maybe not, but sometimes there is. And that's the thing that makes a person go, oh, I need, how many copies can I get? And that's the kind of energy that I think it sounds like. Sometimes our speeches or books are great, but there's this one little way of saying it that makes people light up, you know? So I'm
Mhm.
curious to hear more about what you've already done. And I just want us to put that as a little goal for us, okay?
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
All right.
AJ, do you feel like that little something needs to be provocative? That it really needs to like poke the bear?
It could be provocative, but in my experience, a core message, it when it makes people kind of inhale instead of exhale.
Mm,
It's the inhale.
love that. I love that.
And we tend to write to the exhale. And so that's true for all of us. I do it. I kind of have to remind myself, okay, wait, inhale, inhale, inhale. And there's a place for an exhale. Sometimes people need to take a beat. They need to calm down. They love a bow on the end of it. They love all of that. But what drives people to say, oh my gosh, tell me more, tell me everything, is the inhale. And so I want us to just challenge ourselves. Let's see. Sometimes the message is exactly right, spot on. I have a glimpse of it here. I can see what you're doing, but sometimes it's something that makes, oh my gosh, right? And you probably say it all the time, actually, but sometimes we don't articulate it in speeches or books because of the medium we're using
Mm,
versus just how we talk in everyday conversation. So I just want to, just like a little, because that's a big goal. Y'all, let's look at Tammy's goal. This is a big goal. All right, so let's see what we can do. And maybe you're exactly spot on right now. Could be. I haven't seen enough of your work to know, but my instincts tell me there might be more there.
all right. I take that challenge. Thank you, AJ.
Challenge, yes. Okay, thank you, Tammy. Everybody give Tammy some love, please. Inhale, people. I know I saw Dana. You hear Dana?
Hello,
Hello, how are you? Can you come off mute?
can you hear me?
I can. So just stay off mute for our conversation, okay?
Yes,
Okay, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for picking me. I have your book, by the way, AJ.
Oh, you do?
Uh, yes.
Thank you. I hope you find it useful.
Oh, yes.
Good,
Yes.
good. Okay. So, I love this topic, by the way. Maybe just because I have an adult child now, so I'm feeling personal about it. But I'm very interested in this topic. Okay. So, this is for the goals. I would love for my book to get on the New York Times bestseller list. So, pre-sale numbers are the key. Now, here's the thing. I can talk to any of you about books. I know the industry inside and out. I do want to address this with you to see,
Hmm.
is this how, like, is this like, I'd like this to happen,
Hmm.
or is this, I am determined that this is going to happen because I'm going to advise you differently
Hmm.
based on your answer.
Okay. I think it's in my mind, I don't want to game the system because I know people out there who can game it.
Mhm.
To me, is if I write a must read,
Mhm.
following your advice and sort of like thinking through the structure of the book and really make it a value add to people that they have those inhale and exhale moments as they read the content. To me, if it's good enough, it should naturally get there.
Okay. I would
But
I would love if that were true. It is essential,
Mhm,
obviously, that you write the very best book you can that
mhm,
delivers change. And the same is true when working on a speech, that you're giving the best speech you can that also delivers change. But the marketing part of this, the actual mechanics, the data, the math around getting on the New York Times bestseller list is very specific.
mhm,
It's not going, now I do have last year I had of the authors I work with, four four or five USA Today bestsellers and a New York Times bestseller.
mhm,
Nobody gaming.
mhm.
Um, but it was a lot of work. It's a lot of very specific things you have to do during a specific time period. So remind me, it's this year you're.
Yeah, so I am working with an agent as well as an editor with the publishing house to finalize a deal right now.
Mm-hmm.
And likely I will have 12 months to complete the book, the draft. So it's about 25% done right now on just the
Mm-hmm.
proposal of it. And then, I've been told that you have to start the speaking and the marketing 6 months prior to the book coming out, which is a 2 year calendar ramp up of between writing the book for a year and then them getting it onto the shelf for another year with all the um, editing, binding, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I'm new to this. This is my first book, obviously. Currently, just in terms of the speaking side, I get lots of invitations to speak, but most of them are either unpaid or paid between 2,000 to 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
I have gotten invite to more like smaller scale keynotes, but mostly online.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, you know, uh, and same with uh sorry, I forgot the person's name, the lady that just spoke
Tammy.
before me, Tammy, thank you. I also don't give myself enough prep, so I'm always nervous as I'm speaking. But I do think because mental health is so hot right now, everybody's thinking about it. And I usually do get a lot of leads after I speak.
Mm-hmm.
I have been approached again before to be rehired, so that's good. However, I have to be extremely selective with my time
Mm-hmm.
because I'm working on the book. I'm seeing patients, so I want to speak in platform or in a format that has the biggest impact
Mm-hmm.
with I'm not looking for the volume of speech. I'm looking for going as big as possible, as few times as possible, so that it's not so disruptive to my life.
All right, this is really helpful. Okay, I'm going to give you a strategy now. So since you're basically looking at late 27, early 28 for your
Mm-hmm,
hub. I would love for you to spend the year you're writing building your contacts and relationships so that when it's time for you to go give speeches on this exact topic for in
mm-hmm,
support of the book, that those relationships are already in place.
mm-hmm,
So if you can do that in a way that maybe you can be doing virtual keynote or webinar or something so that it's not because the hard part is the travel. But
mm-hmm.
if you could give something on Zoom
Yes.
in between things, that's super manageable. So I would love for you to brainstorm what could I do for the various group and be strategic. Who do I need to connect with that's eventually going to book me for a keynote then in 27?
Mm-hmm,
So think of this year as laying that groundwork. Make your list of these are the places I really want to give a speech. How can I get their attention? How can I provide value for them earlier? Because sometimes they have online events and other things that maybe
mm-hmm,
you do that this year and then next year they put you on the main stage.
mm,
So think of this year as a building year for those
mm-hmm,
relationships and how can you get in front of audiences without having to leave
mm-hmm,
your home?
mm-hmm,
Okay, so that's number one for that strategy. Then when you're in year two, now you've delivered the manuscript. Now you're in the runway. Okay.
mm-hmm,
What you're gonna have to, if you really want New York Times, and it depends on the month. Okay. So for example, July and August are the easiest months to get on the list.
mm,
You have a benefit because your topic is not, it's hard to get on there with, say, a business book.
mm-hmm,
But if it's, for example, I had an author get on with a book, Dr. Carrie Burnett. She got on with Joy Spam, which is about longevity. So everybody can,
mm-hmm,
it's a broad topic. It's harder to do with niche topics. So it bodes well for you, these parenting, relationships, etc. But what I want, you're looking at, even on those slow months, 13, 14,000 that
mm-hmm,
you have to have pre-sold. So then your goal is going to be to make sure that you are doing these big bulk buy
mm-hmm,
in exchange, maybe not for cash, just in 27, maybe just books, like if that's the goal,
mm-hmm,
then sometimes you have to set aside other goals just to make that one happen. And
mm-hmm,
you're going to have to lay the groundwork way before 6 months.
mm-hmm,
As part of the challenge is your publisher is going to put an order in for books. It's your first print run, and they do it based on the activity in the time your front list in the runway. And so you got to start way earlier, Dana,
mm-hmm.
to secure these big bulk buys so they start seeing, oh, we need more books. Okay. So you can do it. This is such a doable thing, Dana. You just have to be laying the groundwork. And my advice would be to just do some thinking. Do you want help this time on something you could do virtually
Mm-hmm.
so that you can manage your time in this program? Or do you want to focus on the keynote you'll do next year? So you'll have to make that decision, but you don't have to make it right now. You have a few weeks to decide.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions about that? Was that helpful to hear
Yes,
all that?
it's helpful. In a way, it's sort of like I've been doing that, but I feel like with the resources of heroic and being in this class, I want to push myself to kind of grow in terms of being a speaker and I feel like the webinar and speaking on Zoom is still sort of like in my comfort zone.
Okay.
I've done some of that, and but then, I went on a stage, a physical stage one time for was a mental health month, and I was like, oh gosh, this is really, really different than how I am, on Zoom. So I think that's part of my also debate is, do I use this time to push myself for the next level, and kind of maybe the lessons trickle down to make my webinar presence also better and the
Sure.
speech better, or do I sort of like perfect a bit more of my current presence on the web? So I don't know if you could speak to that a little bit.
I mean, I'm always gonna say the thing that seems hard or the really outside your comfort zone, it's great to work on that while you're at heroic.
Mm-hmm,
So, but I would say, much like I challenged Tammy, let's be mindful of how can you maybe take a piece of what you want to do for your keynote and do up level your webinar. But even though you might not be crafting a new webinar here because we're just focused on one deliverable, but
mm-hmm,
let's be mindful of it. I don't have a clear answer. Like, you have to decide, can you go do this stuff? Can you go practice? How much time do you have?
mm-hmm,
Also, just to throw one more little if then scenario into this, you know, speaking is a great way to test the thing you're writing.
mm-hmm,
It's one of the greatest ways to test the thing you're writing.
mm-hmm,
So I think you just have to decide what feels right to you in this program.
mm-hmm,
It sounds like maybe Keynote,
mm-hmm.
but I still would love you to employ that strategy I just talked about.
Yes. Let me just ask one more question
Sure.
about TED, because I know, this was also kind of floated when I answered this question. Part of my confusion is that it feels like there is a almost like a formula or like a strategy people do. Okay, first you do webinar, and then you get on the stage for keynote, and then maybe garner enough experience, and then you go for TED, you go for South by Southwest. So is that sort of the playbook?
No,
Um, or what are the advantage of scrambling that?
that's not the playbook. It might just be what you're observing in terms of patterns, but
Hmm.
we have speakers who've done it in every kind of conceivable order.
Hmm.
So please don't. You need to do what's right for you, considering what the things you just laid out. I have a book coming out. I have a practice. I have limited time to travel. I have a life. How am I going to make all of this work? And I want to be on the New York Times bestseller list. So
Hmm.
you have to consider your unique set of goals versus what is the playbook. There's no one playbook.
Hmm. But let's say with all these limitations, wouldn't TED make more sense because it's the biggest stage? And once, I make it there, to me, maybe the strategy could be, oh, okay, I get on as big of a stage as I can, and then people hear the content, now they're curious and they want more, and then I start to get booked for keynotes and
A TED can definitely help you get booked for keynotes. TED stages are not always the biggest. There's a lot of work involved in making sure people see your TED.
mhm,
So you have to have a coordinated effort. If you really want that many people to watch it, you're going to have to it doesn't happen automatically.
mhm,
Only a small percentage, I think it's less than 2% of TEDx's make it onto TED.com.
mhm,
So, you just have to have a strategy and with every choice you make.
mhm,
But it's not necessarily the right way. It could work like that for you. We have students I have one student who's done 4 TEDs.
mhm,
Um, it's not necessarily, you know, helping that person get keynotes. It just kind of depends. Not enough people saw the TEDs.
mhm,
So, there's a strategy for every choice. Does that make
mhm.
sense?
I see, I see. So you're saying TED is almost like its own New York Times bestseller list, and you gotta like strategize and do all the things
Well,
around
I mean,
that too.
you're limited in what you can do there, but
Mm,
yeah, you do have to be coordinated when it finally does come out. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. All
It's good
right.
to do a TED because even if it's not on TED.com, it's evidence on your own site that
Yeah.
for people who are booking you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I think that's really helpful.
Okay. I wish I could say you do this and you do that and Lena you do that and Tammy you do that and Mike you do that and you have to consider all the things that matter to you and your resources, right?
Mm,
Resources, priorities, goals. Resources, priorities, goals. That's what you have to consider those three things. It's not just this is what everyone should do. Okay?
mm-hmm.
But you can keep asking me. So I want you to there's a reason we don't have you choosing immediately right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, everybody give Dana some love. That was a good conversation that I hope you all took notes. Is Brian here?
How are
Brian?
you?
Oh, you are. Okay, hi
Yeah.
Brian.
Hi.
Okay. Um, so let's see. I can tell that you have been working on a book because you have
Mhm.
three powerful teaching point potential core messages. Line number 1, 2, and 3, and then how you have righted those. So I was lovely to see the organization of your thoughts, Brian.
As you can tell, I'm a very structured thinker.
Do you know what? There's a lot of
Part
you
of
in
my
this.
problem on what I'm trying to write in the book as well.
Why?
Um,
Problem.
just just because the whole concept of control, which I think my analytical thinking and being very detail oriented goes into this whole control aspect as well.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have three big points. Do you have one main one?
That we are innately wired to rise and rebuild.
Okay. Okay. So here you said that you would like your speaking will complement and cooperatively support the book launch and vice versa. So we've
Mhm.
already talked a lot about that today, with both Tammy and Dana. What I just wanted to highlight this, what additional questions do you have now that I had those conversations?
I think my main question is with how I'm structuring the change I want to make, my problem statement, the things I'm trying to solve for my audience slash my reader in the book side. Um, am I structuring or answering it the right way? I know we talked about this a little bit in last week's because I was just mentally struggling with how to get out of my current state, which is today after kind of learning a lot of this stuff versus what is the problem of my audience back when I was in the thick of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to reflect back as to how I felt back then, right? Which is kind of the precipice for the book. And so that I could kind of put in words, which is what I'm hoping to get feedback on, is put that into words that says, this is the problem I had at the time
Mm-hmm.
in some way, shape, or form. And I think ultimately I was looking for hope and the why in
Mm-hmm.
many aspects. I don't want to say my book is about hope. There's a piece of that for sure. It's really about trying to explain, this life trajectory, the situation that occurred to me, and how I had to deal with it, and what I learned by going through those fires. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if I'm answering the question right, is the bottom line. Because I think you're right on point. You wouldn't be doing what you did if you weren't. Is that if I can answer that well, I can craft my speech to address my audience better.
Yes.
Does that
So
make
what I'm
sense?
gonna, yes, and what I'm
Okay.
gonna invite you to do, and everyone here, is that, as I said before, every piece of homework builds on the week before. So I'm about to go over the homework that's due this weekend, and that's where you're delving into how your audience perceives the problem, which is, I think you're clear on the problem, but part of what you have to do often, and maybe not in your case, but very often, part of what you have to do is address the fact that they see the problem as A,
Mhm.
and in reality, it's B or A plus B.
Right.
And so in the next homework, you're going to dig deeper into what they would say. So I highlighted this and put a question mark because you said these lies are preventing them from getting to the other side, but I'm not clear on what the other side of what.
The other side of whatever they're in.
Yeah,
So,
but you have to be
so
able to articulate that in order to
which I
connect
can.
that.
It links into any sort of major adversity happening in their life. This could be a loss of a loved one. This could be a loss of a job. This could be a loss of their identity. This could be they've just diagnosed with a health concern, cancer, etc., and they're in the thick of it, and they're
Sure.
trying to get out of it in many
So
ways.
let me just say that, and I hope everyone writes this down, specificity enables connection, fosters connection, specificity. So it's going to be harder for you to connect with your audience the more general you are about the problem. So it doesn't have to mean I'm writing a speech now for people who lost a job, and then here's another speech for people who lost a loved one, and then here's another speech for this. That's not what I mean. I'm thinking more about the impact of the problem. So there's a job loss, but then what's actually going on? So we tend to think about events as the problem. Something happened, the happening. But the real problem is people are stuck in something, right? And so then what's the impact of that? And being able to articulate impact is one of your greatest tools in building connection with an audience. Articulating impact. This happened, but then what's that like for them? You know, what does that, how does that show up on Sunday night or when they're trying to go to sleep or at 3 a.m. in the morning or at work or when they're in their car or whatever is happening?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to encourage you as you move forward. And the good news is the next homework is exactly that. So considering how structured you are, you're going to rock it. And that's where you're going to get deeper into, let me get in their head, let me get in their heart, and let me try and be specific about impact. So sometimes people get stuck thinking, well, how am I supposed to decide between, illness, loss, this, that? You don't have to. What do
Right.
they all have in common that they're stuck with or struggling with? It's the impact of the happening. The impact of the situation is what connects people. Because I've got a mom with dementia and cancer right now. But I bet if someone else here had a different issue, we probably actually have commonality in the struggle,
Mm-hmm.
even though maybe the other person's issue has nothing to do with having to care for a parent.
Right.
And so we look for the commonality in the experience of the what happened and how we're holding back. So just all you need to do is think about that because it's going to be in the next homework, Brian.
Okay. One additional question for clarification. So I I was speaking to a speaker by the name of Adrian Hazlitt. She was the woman that was lost her leg. She was a dancer, lost her leg in the Boston Marathon bombing, and she's a public speaker now. She hasn't written a book, but she's a public speaker. And when you listen to her speak and her storyline, it has many aspects similar to mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I would consider her like an inspirational speaker, not a motivational speaker. And I don't know, when I listen to her speeches, I would say she's solving a problem for me, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
Are there types of speakers like that and
Mm-hmm.
that aren't necessarily addressing, quote unquote, a problem? I'm not trying to think, I'm trying to step out of the side of my typical business mindset, which is if I was to write a business book about being a CIO for the last 20 years, et cetera, I would write it like, here's the problems and the solutions and all of that. It would be a little bit more how-to-ish. Mine's a narrative memoir with insights and learnings, like when breath becomes air, right? It's one of these things where you're living the lived experience of that author, and you garner insights from it.
Sure.
Like you could be on the other side of the table, as a doctor was in this case when he was diagnosed. That sort of thing. He doesn't have to say it in his book, and I know his wife doesn't say it in her speeches, but that's kind of the path I'm going, and I'm just trying to bridge the gap between what we're learning here to that as well.
Okay.
So I'd love your opinion on that.
Okay. So part of it is like you'd have to have something for corporations. Like some of what I'm looking at here is that's going to be a different situation. If you're trying to get booked at corporations to do an inspirational talk, that's not always going to be an easy booking.
Mhm.
Um, so you have to kind of rely on what's notable about you, which I know from your story, you know, you kind of have to lean into that, much
Mhm.
like your friend who's in the Boston Marathon.
Mhm.
So you can do an inspirational speech, but I would argue that inspirational speeches do solve problems. They do solve problems. It's shifting the way that we perceive adversity or a challenge or ourselves. And
Right, which is
that's,
much of what she does when I listen to her
yeah,
speeches. It's kind of like, here she was at rock bottom, but here's how she learned to live with the
yeah. So
loss
I
of the
think
leg.
you need to
Right.
expand your view of what problem means and
Okay.
maybe go back and watch this conversation because again, it comes back to impact.
Mhm.
What's the impact of being stuck in something in the aftermath of something happening? What's the
Right.
impact? That's a problem.
Right.
Right? Okay.
Yep.
So
Yep.
let's like a concrete, we're not earning the profit we need to earn. I'm talking just a human problem in that respect,
Yeah.
but it's still a problem.
Right. And I address it in the book. I think I got to figure out how to pull it through as the problem statement. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing. And that's what we're doing over the next few weeks. So there's no
Yeah.
urgency there.
Awesome.
I just want to address this last question before we close out of your homework. I think you can definitely do a keynote while you're here.
And I think I'm leaning more towards keynote now after more gelling after submitting this.
Okay.
So yeah, and I can always shorten it for TED styles and things like that. But I think okay, so it's good to know that like I just don't want to take on too much and go, oh my gosh, I can't write 26 pages of a draft speech. That's too much or what have you. But I think I can now as I've given some more
Well,
thought.
your keynote is you, and we're going to teach you guys this later, but we use the simple average math of 135 words per minute.
Hmm.
And so if your keynote's 45 minutes, you're just over 6,000 words.
Hmm.
You can do that.
Yep. I believe I can. Yeah, I
No,
gave it more
and
thought after
people
I kind
do
of
it.
did. Yeah.
People who've never written a speech have done that here in this program.
Okay. So
And
I'm
we're gonna
focused on keynote. You can change my answer.
I'm not gonna change it for you, but you can change your answer, Brian,
Yeah,
for sure.
I've
But
changed my
you're
answer.
gonna love the way I structure getting the first draft done. You're a structure person. You and Mike are gonna be like,
Yes.
AJ's got me. She's
I'm,
gonna
I'm
break
looking
it down.
forward to it, AJ. I need it.
Yeah, I'm all about the structure when it comes to a messy first draft.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions, Brian?
No, thank you so much.
Okay, everybody give Brian some love, please. Share any insights you have. Okay, before we close out of this screen share, I want to show you your homework that is due this weekend. And I will get to questions right after that. This is your audience profile. This is something that I created based on a reader profile I do for book students and then modified this for speaking. We've got to have some deeper knowledge of our audience. Don't panic if you don't have all the answers. You can poll, you can ask questions, you can go out in the world and get answers to these questions. This is, again, like all of the homework, a tool to help you think through things. Okay. All right. So here, we're hopefully going to have you zero in on a problem you want to help solve. All right. Again, this is not final. You can change this later. Which audiences share this problem and would benefit from your solution? So this is one way to get at who is my audience by thinking first of the problem and then thinking who has that problem? Who needs help solving that? That's one way. But another way to get at audiences, maybe you already think you know who they are. For example, Mike does, and so does Tammy. So you already know the audience, and so you go in door number 2 to get to audience, which is who's your audience, and then what is their primary problem? Okay, there's usually a laundry list. It's usually a kitchen sink full of problems. Let's pick the most pressing one. If you're not sure what it is, apply an urgency constraint. Okay, what is the problem they would most want to fix in the next 6 to 12 months? Instead of all the problems. Then now we're getting into urgency. Now people need to hear you talk because it's about something that they are trying to do right now. Okay, or soon. It's just a helpful tool to apply that constraint whenever you feel like you can't decide. That also works when you're trying to figure out how to articulate what they want most. What do they want most in the next 6 to 12 months? And then sometimes the problem is the thing keeping them from that. Okay, I'm just trying to give you some different ways to think about this as you move through this homework. Then in question number 4, we want you to consider, how will you access your audience? Do they exist, right? Are we talking about maybe 2 opportunities to speak a year or 200 opportunities to speak a year? This is just for you to check yourself and think, am I being too narrow here? Can I actually do enough speeches to meet the goals that I talked about in last week's homework? Again, we always want to be fostering connection with our audience, so we look for anything we might have in common with them. Maybe we are speaking to an earlier version of us, but maybe it's client focused. What are anything at all that you can relate to that shows them that you get them? Okay. Now you fill in the blank as if you are the audience. Okay. How would they answer the question, I would be happy if, I would be successful if? This is in relationship to the problem. Okay? It's not about, I would be happy if this speech was good. I would be successful if this person knew what they were talking about. That's not what this is. This is about the problem. What would they say? I know that I fixed it when. I'm happy this. This is me happy. Okay. Then remember we talked about impact? Be specific. In what ways does the problem impact your audience? Impact, impact, impact. My experience in this program is this is the one where I usually have to poke and remind students, impact, impact, because they kind of skip it or they don't get in there. And it's the point of connection. So let's take a minute on that one. This is also critical. How would your audience describe the problem? Not the way you see it, the way they see it. And if you aren't sure, ask. Now, these next ones, question 9 and question 10, you're going to do them in the voice of your audience as best that you can. What are their top questions and what are their fears, worries, and concerns? So you're not going to write it as if it's you. You're going to write it as if you're them, right? The questions are things they want answered, but this is stuff they're worried about. I'm worried that, I'm afraid about this, I'm concerned that. And it's again about your topic, your problem. Okay. It's not, I'm worried or what are my questions about this speech. It's the problem, it's the topic. Okay. And then the good old secret question. I think you guys can handle that one. All right. So I want to open up to questions. And before I jump to all your questions, I do want to address a question that came in from Lena. So Lena, I know you had or do you already have your hand up? No? Oh, okay. But I know you had a question. Do you want to share that with the group or do you want me to read your question?
Yeah. So I have been working for 30 years in the women's rights space, and that's the thing that I love and the thing that I do. And I realize that speeches on women's rights are not necessarily marketable, and if and where they are, it is for the month of March, International Women's Month, and then I'm sort of stuck as a one-off or these days nice to have, but not a must-have. And so I'm trying very hard to massage everything that I know about the work that I do and the work that I used to do in humanitarian crises into something that is more marketable and evergreen. And so I'm sweating a little bit, trying to figure out how to do that, and then use examples from women's rights in conflict, because that was the bulk of my experience working in war zones and natural disasters, to illustrate leadership in emergencies. Because, as I very often say, it's not in times of stability, it's in times of crisis, and the storm is the norm. So, what can women who aren't in leadership in a traditional sense, but are leaders very much in their own right, teach us about about how to operate in crisis and why must we always do that as part of our standard practice. So that's sort of what I'm thinking of, but I would love some guidance because I feel like I won't be able to continue my thinking and certainly the homework because I don't really know if that's the right track.
I mean, I can't tell you if it's for sure the right track, you know? I mean, I think anytime that you can connect though to the problem that, so if you're trying to speak to what, corporations?
Ideally,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so it's right now you're talking about a lot of, you have a mix of problem solution when you're talking. And what is the big problem that you can address using the solutions or perspectives that you have?
That's a good question. What is the big problem that I can address? Um, I think it's redefining leadership.
Okay. Why would they need to do that?
Why
What's
would they need?
going on in let's apply that constraint about time. What's happening in the next 12 months that's urgent for corporations?
I mean, well, I think I don't know how to answer that question, but I think something else is that I feel like we lose out on um, having narrow definitions of leadership. And also, I think if there's anything that the world has taught us, since the pandemic and on, it's that the crises aren't going to stop. And the sooner we learn how to manage those, the better we will be. And what better examples, at least from what I've seen, than those who aren't traditionally in positions of power or leadership, but have shown extraordinary leadership in times of constraint.
Okay, so the problem then would be managing continual disruption,
Yes.
succeeding in complicated times, complex
Mm-hmm.
times. Yeah, so this is let's start there. Then that becomes marketable, right? Because what's the impact of not being able to navigate the continual disruption that's happening in these, let's just say, accelerated times? Um,
I like that.
yeah,
Well, it's paralysis or reversal of any progress or total collapse, shut down. I mean, what
we're
we're
getting there.
seeing, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
I'm seeing
No,
it
what I
certainly
mean
in my
is you and
industry.
I are getting there because
Oh, oh. Oh, not globally.
so I'm
Okay, I
not
hear you.
speaking any of that into existence, but
Got you.
I do want you to start thinking like that. I want you
Yeah.
to start thinking this is something that's happening. It's top of mind for people. So they really want a solution and they need new solutions, better solutions, and they want to hear from people about this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you already established that you have a solution for it. Maybe not the whole solution, but one way to look at leadership in a different way, um,
Right.
and to look to a different group of people
Mm-hmm.
can manage disruption in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you've got to be able to articulate, here's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
This is the impact of it.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going to show you a way forward.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Great question, Lena. And you could keep coming and asking me. I want to establish here and now. You can ask me again.
That's great.
Like if you
Thank you.
next week any of you say, wait a minute, you said this thing and I don't remember, or can I ask this again? All cool. All
Yeah.
cool. All right.
Appreciate that.
It's a lab. Okay.
That's great. It's because this is far out of my comfort zone, so I'm really trying to stretch. So thank you
You're
for
not
making
the
it
only
easy.
one, Lena, and thank you for that question. Everybody, your brains aren't used to thinking the way we're going to ask you to think for the next few weeks. So give yourself grace and don't be afraid to ask me stuff. Okay. I love a repeat question because then it challenges me to say, how can I say this differently in a way that will land? And that's fun for me. So, it's always fun. John, what you got?
Hi, AJ.
Hi.
Since you're inviting us to ask questions, how do you best frame the problem? Like, what's a formula that we can use, even if it's not pretty, but to frame the problem?
I don't know what you mean. Just describe. This is a problem that I'm going to address, and this is the impact of the problem.
Mm.
I'm not sure what you mean. I don't have a formula
Well,
for.
I am struggling to name the problem. It feels like I end up just going for the solution.
Mhm.
So like it seems like every time I'm like, well, is this a solution or a problem? I'm like, it sounds more like this. So
So give
I'm
me
just
some examples.
um okay. Well, one of the problems that I'm trying to name is that we're confusing success for thriving.
Okay,
Uh,
and then what is the impact so then how is that how's that showing up?
it impacts people's well-being.
Okay. And are you wanting to speak to get booked at, say, businesses, corporations, that type of like, how often are you wanting to speak?
I'm not sure yet. I know
Okay.
this is the same answer I gave you last week. I haven't come up with an answer yet as to what that looks like. But I am wanting to kind of reframe our perspective on success and
Okay.
the trade-off that exists with thriving.
All right, well, let's brainstorm then. Okay, let's start with audience instead of starting with problem. So who has who is challenged with this belief of success and who is most affected by this misconception that you want to correct?
Most of them are my clients who are CEOs or founders or people who've
Okay.
quote unquote made it.
And what is the consequence of continuing to believe this misconception?
Their well-being suffers, their relationship suffers.
Okay. And what would they call that? So when you're working with them, what do they say?
Um, one of the phrases that I hear is like, I feel like I don't have a lot of freedom. I should
Okay.
have more freedom, but I don't have it.
They don't have freedom. And then what else? What are some other things they say about what's troubling them?
It feels like there are unlimited obligations, like this hamster wheel sense
Hmm.
that the more you do, the more you have to do.
Okay.
Uh, that's
So they're
another one.
overwhelmed. They feel trapped. It sounds like
Yeah.
we're getting somewhere to a problem. The problem
Yes.
is CEOs, C-suite, although they're super successful, feel trapped in that success and overwhelmed by the tremendous obligations that success demands of them. Is that close to a problem?
Yes. That's very close.
Okay, mission accomplished. So
Oh, that was easy.
okay, can you, y'all, did you see all I did was ask a series of questions? Sometimes you can come in through the other door, like in the homework. Okay, who's the audience? Okay, what do they complain about? What are they suffering with? Or this is what I want to change. Stop thinking of success like this. Okay, who suffers because of this misconception? Try the consequence piece. If it continues, what will it look like? So we can kind of get at, oh, this is it. I'm trapped. I'm overwhelmed. I'm whatever. So you kind of have to keep asking yourself questions, and your way is not going to work for everybody, John. So it's just try a different set of questions that's basically leading to because people believe this one thing, because people believe in these binaries, Tammy, about nonprofit, then this is the problem they're experiencing because of that. Because Lena, people are not harnessing the unique talents of women in leadership. This is the problem they are experiencing. And it could be 5, 10 problems, but we're going to pick the main one. We're going to pick the main one because so we can go deep on it and show impact. We're going to pick the one that matters to them more than others. And so it's not going to be the same door. Some of you are going to come in through the problem and find the audience, and some of you are going to come in through the audience and find the problem. And then, as we demonstrated today, we're going to come in through the message and find the problem. So you just kind of have to keep asking yourself questions until you can say, this is what's going on. Okay? Does that help, John? Perfect. Okay, other questions? We've got plenty of time for questions. How about, okay, yes, Mike.
Thanks again for everything. I want to circle back to the subject of impact.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, and we'll try to unpack this, is impact to an audience more of a personal result in their lives in the context of how we're trying to create that? Does that make sense?
I don't want you to look at all the impact. I want you
Okay.
to look at all the impact. What's the impact on their work? What's the impact on their money? What's the impact? What is it? And I want you to, sometimes it's helpful to think about, because they have this problem, this is what they deal with every day. Or this is what they do. You can also think about it, and this is what they deal with in their relationship. You could do specific to relationships, specific to money. You can also apply impact. Sometimes the impact is at a certain time period, right? So because of this problem, the impact on them during tax season, the impact on them when a child graduates, the impact on them, right? Do you see where I'm going? You
Yeah,
kind
I do.
you kind of have to go, all right, who are my people? What are these sort of places where this could hit, right? Can it is it a daily impact? Is it once in a while? Is it affecting every aspect of their life or just a little bit? Let me just consider it. Honestly, I'm just inviting you all to think about it. This is how this problem is showing up and affecting you, the audience. When you
Okay.
can articulate that, it helps them feel seen. And there are ways to articulate it in the speech. Don't worry about that right now. It could be through story, it can be through showing scope of the problem through research. It could be through actually articulating, this is what I see you, this is what's happening. But when you do that, you help them feel like, oh, is somebody like, were you videotaping me, Mike? I'm showing my age. I'm Gen X. There's no videotape anymore. Were you reading my diary? Are you reading my brain? You see me. When you can help an audience feel seen, and it honestly doesn't even take that much. Once you're clear on what it is, you can create the moment in the speech. But my experience is many speakers never get that clarity on the impact. And so they can't create the moment. Is that helpful, Mike?
Very. I mean, my last mini question, and it feels kind of silly, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Like my most recent book, I actually interviewed a bunch of our clients who had made significant impact. So it's okay, obviously, to blend those stories into the talk, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
If they serve and if it makes, based on we're going to talk structure soon, but yes. Margaret, you're muted.
Can never find the cursor in time when you need it. So I've been struggling with this kind of the message, and I guess the one question you asked in this week's homework is, how would my audience describe the problem?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure my audience would say there's a problem, which I realize that in and of itself is a problem for me. But here's why. So I work with small to mid-sized organizations. I own my own small organization. I work with leaders. I get called by their boss, or I get called by the owner of the company, the HR person in that organization, letting me know that this individual is not doing a really good job of leading their people. And that's what I see a lot of. I'm not 100% sure. Like I haven't had a leader necessarily come up to me and say, I'm horrible at this and I need help. I have the people that either observe it or suffer from it say that, right? So that's why I'm really like, this is difficult. I know the problems that an ineffective poor leader causes. I've seen it, right? But I guess I'm feeling this lack of confidence that they always know that they're not really good. Like it's almost like I don't know that they don't know. Does that make sense?
Sure, but that's not the problem to articulate then. There's a consequence of having that, of there not being really good. What's the consequence?
the consequence of not having a good leader.
What are they experiencing because of it?
But who's the they? I think that's my problem.
Okay,
Is
yeah,
it
you'll have to decide.
right? So I'm almost sitting here saying, I think the they is the employee that suffers from the leader that's ineffective.
But why? To what end? Are you giving them tools for transformation so they can deal with an ineffective leader? Or are you asking leaders to change?
I would prefer to ask leaders to change.
Then you probably have leaders as your
Correct.
audience.
Right. That's where I think I am. Right. But then this is what I'm sitting there saying, yeah, I'm just nervous about that question, I think, because again, like I said, not so sure that they're aware always that they have this problem.
I mean, most of the time people aren't aware of the real problem. So you have to articulate a problem they would say.
Right.
What would they say? Do you work with them, right?
Right.
So what do they complain about?
Usually the employee. I mean, honestly, right? Because they're not looking inward, they're looking outward. It's something else. It's somebody else.
So you're going to give her one of those speeches, huh? It's not them, it's you.
Kind
That's
of.
going to be your speech.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the problem.
Right.
Those are tricky, but you can do them.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to give some thought to what would they say about the problem. So it's okay if they don't know it's them.
Right.
But maybe they have a problem like they can't get promoted. They can't make headroads. They can't get their team to deliver results. They themselves are at a ceiling. They can't grow anymore in their career. I don't know.
Okay.
So think about your interactions and what you hear most. Also think about what's bothering them right now. What are they worried about right now? I mean, if you can't get your team to do things if you think it's your team now, maybe you're blaming it on generational stuff, technology, whatever. I don't know. So you've got to go into what you do know about them and what they would say. And then the speech will have to be crafted in a way that calls them out without making them feel shame.
Right.
It can be done. I promise. But you have to, they're not gonna, you got to be able to speak to, I would like to hear what Margaret has to say about this pressing problem I have.
Okay.
I mean, and let's be real, it's probably going to be their bosses who have all of their lower level leaders that need to change and that that want you to come talk to their group, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably how it's going to be.
Yeah, so you need to just start thinking about, and again, just sketch it. You don't have to get this perfect right now. Okay? Just how would they perceive the problem? But it's something else. So we have a tendency to jump right to the thing we know. But that's not what's really going on. Those are fun speeches to give, by the way. I see you, I get you. I understand the impact of this problem you're articulating. Guess what? That's
right.
It's not that. Okay? That means you get to have multiple ahas in the speech. That means you get to blow their minds, Margaret.
Yeah, I'd like to. That's the plan.
You can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it. When we shy away from making those statements, then we can't do that. So, you know what's true. Now just pull back. What are they saying to each other, to you? What's going on?
Okay.
Is that helpful, Margaret?
Yes, that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sable, coolest name. Hi, Sable. Did I say it
Hi.
right?
Yes, you said it fine.
Okay.
So I write a lot of proposals for to do work with companies. So when I hear impact, my brain is trained to go into ROI and numbers and data and all that good stuff, which has its purpose and its use. But and you've spoken to it before, but I would love to just hear you go even further, if you will, in the land of like impact. Are we talking emotional, psychological, spiritual, like all of the ways that aren't necessarily, and there's a 27% increase in attrition and like, all those things.
I love the data. Bring the data. Bring
Well,
the
that's
data.
the easiest part for me to do
Yeah,
because that's how my brain is trained.
but then think about if you're living with that data, what are the
How does that
stress
actually impact you as a human?
as a human? What are the stressors? What is like, does that mean because of that data, are you working 14-hour days?
Hmm.
Because of that data, are you avoiding certain people? Because of that data, are you not taking a salary? You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
do you dread going to work? Do you have all of a sudden, high blood pressure
Ooh,
and
that's me.
okay,
June of this year.
I'm just I don't have the answers for all of you because you know that you got to think of this through. But
Mm-hmm.
there's any number of impacts, and you don't have to put them all in the speech. This is
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
brainstorm time. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, make it think of, I love the data. Bring on the data. And then what does it feel like to live in that world?
Thank you.
These are great questions. The thoughtfulness you all apply to this process is going to pay so many dividends. It truly, truly is. It will take your speech to a completely different level where you are dialed in and people are wrapped in attention. They are paying close attention to you. Okay? So we're just going to do as much deep thinking and exploring together. And remember what I said at the first class, we're just going to try stuff. Okay? It doesn't have to stay permanent. We're just going to try stuff. One thing I've noticed in this program too is you kind of, oh, I think it's maybe this, the impact. And then 2 weeks from now, oh, because I thought that, then now I think this, and now I think this other thing. So if we let ourselves just try things and think more deeply, it leads to the answers later down the line, better answers, more impactful answers. Other questions? We have 4 minutes. Adam.
Was one of the questions that you're asking. I think it's part of this week's homework, or maybe it was last week's. Still, the format. I know that you drilled on it a couple of times, in TED Talk, keynote, this, that, the other thing, and I'm thinking about impact and how I can just do that and play with this and just get better as a performer on this and be able to be better at just articulating these thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't care what format it is yet.
Okay.
Um, yet. So my question is it really important for us to know that format right now?
No.
Okay.
No, we just want you to start thinking about it before you have to decide for the program. So when you deliver an outline, that is when you have to make the decision because you'll have to know the length of the speech and the type of speech so that the faculty person who is assigned to you, faculty reviewer, knows, oh, they want to do a TED or they're doing a 45-minute keynote or they're doing a 60-minute keynote or they're doing a breakout. It helps them determine how to respond to you and advise you. So you will have to make a decision when you turn in your outline. But until then, we just want you to start thinking about it so you can keep asking questions. So we're not springing that decision on you. Does that make sense, Adam? Perfect. Good. Liz, does that mean you agree or you want to talk to me?
Just a kind of a quick follow-up question, if I can, to Adam's. Right now, I do workshops and I do breakout sessions, and I'm working now on a keynote. I'm hopeful that by working on the keynote, it refines my workshops and my breakout sessions. Because I know we're just supposed to focus on one, but I think we can always get better.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just that when you're submitting things, so the homework is going to be based on whatever thing deliverable you're working on in this program.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, oh, and we see it all the time, Liz, where people are changing this thing or that thing, and sometimes even their website and their marketing, and it all shifts, in good ways.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
yes, wonderful. Okay. Your homework is audience profile. I'll be pulling from different people for next week, and we're going to dig deeper. I'm just going to encourage you to just take a little bit of time if you're nervous about the answers to go look for, either on your social media or your own community, or you can use Reddit to go see what are people saying about the problem, about these issues. How do they feel about it? What are they worried about? So take a little bit of time to do a little recon if you're nervous about filling out that form and you're not confident about it, okay? All right, we're off